And may we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Chen.
Here.
Councilmember Yu.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann.
Here.
Mayor Sternquist.
Here. Okay, we move to item 3, the invocation. Pastor Kelty from Community of Christ Church will provide the invocation. It's located at 5851 Temple City Boulevard. Services are on Sunday mornings and 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. And Pastor Kelty comes regularly to our meetings, and we so appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Please stand.
Oh, our divine Creator, we thank you that we're able to meet here together this evening to conduct the business of the city of Temple City. We do so in order that we might provide direction to this community so that it might become even a better community than it already is. We know that this will not be an easy task when all considers all of the problems and difficulties that we face for whatever reason, day in and day out. And so that we'd ask for your divine support. Indeed, the city council, staff, all those associated, indeed, might do their best to do the best they can. We offer you this prayer this evening that we, Creator, may see the world around us and all this community, in particular as your divine creations and as we caregivers. Therefore, let this be our prayer to you this evening, that through what we do here tonight, tomorrow, and the following days, and the days to come, both near and far, we might tap into your direction. We might leave this community a better community than when we found it. This we pray in all humility. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Before we have the boys come in, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Cub Scout Pack 169, who will be leading the flag salute this evening. They are based in Temple City. They serve the greater San Gabriel Valley, and they have about 35 members who meet weekly at Emperor Elementary and the Elks Lodge. The pack actively participates in community events such as the Temple City Camellia Festival Parade, Lights on Temple City, and the Sierra Madre 4th of July Parade. And they host an annual school-wide campout. Welcome to Cub Scout 169.
Audience attention. All those in uniform, please salute the flag. All those not in uniform, please put your right hand over your heart. Color guard advance. Color guard halt. Color guard cross colors. Color guard, prepare to colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, post colors. Two. Color guard, return to right.
Thank you so much. Can I have all of you come up so we can have a picture taken? And council, if you'll join us.
Although not packed, you know, with 120, Cub Scout was 128.
And you could all step forward. Could we get behind you? One more step forward. There you go.
Ready? Okay. Great, thank you. Go home and watch yourself on TV now.
Anything to poke you. We haven't had a scout troop come to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance for some time, and it's just so nice to see you come, and I hope you can come back again. So just please let Peggy know, and she'll be thrilled to sign you up. Okay? We move to item 5, ceremonial matters presentation. And tonight we have an update from Family Promise, and Brian will tell us a little bit about them.
Sure. Oh, there we are. Family Promise is the organization that the city works with to assist with those families that are at risk of homelessness, those families who have had unfortunate situations to where they need assistance. It is funding that we get through the state of California that we pass through with Family Promise. Family Promise has been around for several decades, assisting families in their time of need and assisting them in a way that not only helps them with a hand up, but a path forward in terms of getting them back on track, not only just with direct rental assistance, but also with supportive services. You have assisting during times of medical need, but also in terms of, in particularly, job loss as well. So I'll turn it over.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So my name is Delmi Batal, and I'm the case manager for Family Promise of San Gabriel Valley, and specifically for the Temple City Rental Assistance Program. So I kind of want to go a little bit how we've been helping the community, how we've been partnering with agencies to help as many families in need within Temple City. So as you can see, referrals. I'm a big advocate of partnerships. That's very important. Partnering with other nonprofit organizations, with the schools, with any government agency, it's very important because not one agency has all the answers and not one agency has all the services. So it's kind of like wrapping around services around individuals and families to prevent homelessness. So as you can see on this, like we have the social media, we have the billboard from Temple City. As you can see, a big chunk comes from partner agencies, which is vital and very important. Landlords, friends, and neighbors, as well as we also have a few that are unknown because they've reached out to me, but initially, but when I reached back out to them, I never really heard back from them. So that's why we have 10 that are unknown, how they found out about the program. So as you can see, so last year in 2024, 2025, from the 15 families that were helped with rental assistance, this was the average rent of $16.95. So as you know, rents are going up. So with the 2025, 2026, we see that with the 15 families that we're helping this year, the average rent is now $2,043. The demographics. So as of November of 2025, we were at full capacity. We were able to help 15 families with this rental assistance program. And then I kind of broke it down with single parents. We have about 4 families that are single parents, 2 that are individual, and then we have 9 families with minor children, or we have an adult taking care of their elderly parent. Out of those, we have 2 that are African American, 1 that's Asian, and 12 that are Hispanic. Income level, important to know. So 9 out of those 15 families, extremely low income, and then we have 5 who are very low income, and 1 was at moderate income that we were able to help. I wanted to kind of share a couple of stories because it's very important that you know who's living in your community. Who are these people that are needing help? So again, we go to partnership. The first family is a single mother with 14 kids, with 4 teenage kids. They grew up in Temple City. They have a long-standing relationship where Temple City Unified watched these kids grow up. So they knew them very closely. She had been living in Temple City with her mother, the grandmother of the kids, for several years. There was a strife that happened there. The mother illegally kicked her out of the rental unit, and she ended up being homeless with her 4 kids for about 3 to 4 weeks. She was connected to DPSS, but as we know, they move a little slow. So even if you identify a unit, it takes time, and landlords are not willing to wait. So Temple City Unified School District referred that family to us. I reached out to them. This is a single mom who's working 3 to 4 jobs, always done that, hardworking. And so she was able to identify a unit. We helped her with moving costs, and we're helping her with 6 months of rental assistance. And this is how partnership comes into play. When mom moved into the apartment, she had nothing. So I connected her with an agency that provided used furniture. But I also referred her to an agency, it's a big furniture store, that was giving away brand new beds to minor children who were experiencing homelessness. So I connected her to that program. All 4 kids got beds. The other thing too, she didn't have any social networks. It was her family, and that she no longer has that connection. She doesn't really have friends. So she was really happy to have a case manager involved to run ideas by. So that has been an added support for her. Family Promise also connected her to a congregation where they adopted her and her children for the holidays. So that was a tremendous help that they got as well. And the other thing too, the kids were traumatized because they had never been homeless before. So even when they were in their permanent housing, they thought, when are we moving again? When do we move? And you know, so I actually reached out back to Temple City Unified School District, and we connected them with services for therapy. We connected them because they fell behind with school. So like tutoring, or what can we do, programs that can help them within the school to catch up as well. So all of this has been detrimental and helpful, again, working in partnership. The second one, we have an adult child taking care of their senior parent. So this person hadn't been working for several months. She was surviving on taking people, a couple of friends of hers were loaning her money, but that ran out. And so as we started working with her dad got Social Security. However, that wasn't enough because the rent was really high. So in the time that we were working together, she was able to find a job with Culver City. She started off part-time, now she's full-time, and then I connected her to IHSS. Because I'm like, if you're already taking care of your elderly father and you're doing all these things for them, why not get paid? So I went ahead and connected her with that. She did it, and now she has a full-time job and a part-time job doing what she was already doing as well. The other thing the other goal that she had was, can you help us with affordable senior housing? So I have been sending her some of these referrals, and she's been on top of it, trying to do that. So but that takes a process. But she's just really happy because she goes, if we're able to get into a senior housing, that will stabilize us for a good long time in terms of rental assistance. And then last but not least, we have a family of 4 with an adult child and a minor child who came from Venezuela. They came here on a refugee visa. And they were here, Dad already had his own business. He wanted to establish his business here, but they needed a permanent address and they didn't have that. So when they came here, they were literally paying for a motel. And that's where all their money went. So they could not afford the moving costs or anything like that. Another partner agency referred that family to us. And so we started working with them. And we were able to, and then the nice thing about these new landlords that we were able to help out, we built partnerships with these landlords as well. Because they didn't know about our program, they didn't even know we existed. So anyhow, we went ahead and connected. They wanted to work with us. We built these relationships. We were able to house this family, pay for their moving costs, and also paying for 6 months of rental assistance. And all of these families just feel extremely blessed. I know their child wasn't very fluent in speaking English, so I reached out to Temple City Unified to see what programs or some added help that they can do so that the child can catch up and learn the language quicker. And they've actually been very pleased with this child because they're like, by the end of the year, she's going to be fluent like in her English. So I just want to say we feel extremely blessed to partner with Temple City and being able to do that, and just a huge blessing to be able to work with these families. Thank you.
Can I ask you one question? What happens after the 6 months if a family who has been in the program is not able to continue on their own for whatever reason?
Well, I think that at that point, we would see what other referrals or agencies that we can connect them with to help them in that process.
Okay. We so appreciate the work that you do. And I know personally, I'm thrilled that we're able to partner with you. And I think Brian and I talk about this often, that we've had so much success. So we are happy to, have you here to help share with the community. So thank you very much for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Okay, we move to item 6, public comments on the items not listed on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Nope. Okay, we move to the consent calendar. Tom? Make a motion.
Motion to approve consent calendar?
Second.
Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Chen?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Okay. We move to item 8, public hearing, establish the community development block grant programs and allocations for fiscal year 2026. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist and members of the council. Speaking of successful programs that help those who are in need, our community development block grant program has been around for several years. We have gone through many evaluations over time. There was an ad hoc last year that looked at it as well. We're carrying over some of those recommendations. We are proposing one minor adjustment, and that adjustment is understandable in terms of the costs that are being incurred for home improvement. So with that, I'll turn it over to Adam Golick, who, along with our other partners, administer this program.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, members of the audience. The estimated allocation for next fiscal year is a little over $200,000. There's currently unallocated balance, which is unexpended funds or funds that carried over from the previous year or funds paid back to the city. Just over 96,000, so approximately 297,000 will be available for programs for next fiscal year. Just a little bit about our ongoing programs. We have the housing rehab loan and grant program. There's approximately 30 residents that are on the waiting list at the time. The program typically assists 6 households per year, usually 5 or 6. And then we also have the associated asbestos and lead-based lead-based paint testing and removal. That is a requirement through HUD. We need to do that. Just some figures for the past couple of years. Right now, we have 3 projects that are, I believe, 1 or 2 already finished construction, and there's a couple that are under construction at the moment. And then the past 2 previous fiscal years, we've assisted 6 households. And then the testing figures, that varies. As you can see, there's 1 year where or last fiscal year, it's a little over 30,000, and then the year prior to that's just under 23,000. That really varies based on what kind of improvements are being done. So if someone's changing windows or redoing the paint on the exterior, that could trigger some lead-based paint abatement work, which could increase the cost for the project. The last time that the city increased the loan and grant amounts was in 2016. We were just curious and looked online. We talked with our consultant, and prices have increased more than 50% according to some state figures. And with that, staff's recommending that we increase the loan amount by $5,000 as well as the grant, just to allow homeowners to do work that is needed rather than them having to select or not do certain improvements. And then I've just included some figures here that we found online, replacing 12 windows. Actually, these are from our building permit records, but even with these figures, the amounts do vary depending on what's being done. Like the windows, different size windows, there's going to be different costs, but you're looking at about $7,200 in 2016, and now it's almost $11,000. Roof replacement, that's another common one, so that's increased significantly. And then bathroom and kitchen remodels, those figures have also increased a lot. And those figures also depend on the materials, on what's being done, so that varies significantly. And then the third program that the city has that's ongoing is the youth scholarship program. We do have 15 scholarships to date. Unfortunately, I don't know what the figures are, but the past 2 years, we had 11,225, and then the previous fiscal year was slightly lower. That one, for this fiscal year, the proposed amount was 10,000. If the council desires, we can increase that amount to just to give some wiggle room. But these are the proposed recommended allocation or programs and allocations for the next fiscal year. There's no impact to the general fund. They're all reimbursed from the federal funds. And the recommendation.
I'm sorry, Adam.
Yeah.
Do you mind going back a couple of slides? How much did we give last? Okay, so last year, 24-25, we awarded is that correct, $11,000 in scholarships then?
Correct.
Okay, and that's the most up-to-date amount.
That was last fiscal year. I don't have the figures for this year,
obviously,
but
yeah.
the budget for this fiscal year is 10,000.
Okay, and
Also, as well, if tonight you approve it, as you've approved in the past, you can allow me to adjust the amount. So, for example, if it goes above the 10,000, it goes to 12,000. I have the ability administratively to fund that, and that's how we funded the 24.
I was going to say, how did we get to 11,000 when we only have 10?
You give me the authority under the resolution and the public hearing to do that. So it just sits.
But you take it from others.
Generally, we take it from the unallocated portion, so that,
okay.
so that the other programs are not impacted.
Oh, okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can you go back one to there you go. Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, one quick follow-up to that scholarship question. Just occurred to me, I read in the Connect, is this for the youth scholarship? Is Camellia Fund something separate, or is this?
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Chen. Yes, there's 2 different programs. The Camellia Fund is a private endowment that was endowed to the city for needs-based applications for not just city programs, but for other programs as well. This is specific, CDBG program is specifically for city-run programs. So that's why there's sometimes a different drawdown off that. And it's a discrete component of the city's financial statements, but it is specifically for that sole purpose.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up.
And with that, it's recommended to open the public hearing, authorize the city manager to amend the programs and allocations up to 50%, increase the loan amount from the current 35,000 to 40,000, and the grant amount from 10,000 to 15, and adopt the attached resolution.
Okay, before we open the public hearing, do we have any questions from council members? William?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In the staff report, it mentions that the demand for the youth scholarship program has decreased. Do we know exactly why? Is it a matter of just less people are interested, or are there certain parameters of the youth scholarship program that make it less?
From what I remember, a lot of people that offered classes during COVID stopped offering classes. I think more and more people are coming back and offering those classes again. So I don't know if that led to decreased enrollment. But I know the Parks and Recreation has done a lot of outreach, and the levels haven't been what they were prior to COVID.
And I think in addition to that, Mr. Matsumoto would also say that I think the youth scholarships also help fund the after-school daycare and some of the summer day camp programs. And there's other programs out there that also service that need. So they've just seen less demand for those programs in general.
Oh, I see.
And I think there's also declining enrollment in the school districts, which probably could have an effect on this also.
And one of our adjacent school districts that use some of our programs actually subsidize their own program as well. So that's part of the reason for the demand, some of the socioeconomics of those who would use that type of program, or those who would be eligible for that type of program. I think some of the programs have shifted throughout, and I know one school district adjoining to us provides subsidized programming, especially for the after-school care.
That's El Monte. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. And just kind of generally speaking, that table with the increased construction costs, I mean, the allocations that we get from, it's LACTO, right? That allocates CDBG. That doesn't really catch up with cost increases, right? Okay.
Yeah, generally the CDBG program, we tend to get a little bit less every year while the costs tend to go up.
Okay.
And our reimbursements back into the program have been more for the zero interest loans than when people have been paying that back. So that unallocated fund is, a good chunk of that is actually people paying back those loans over time, and then those being recycled as investments back for other program participants.
So is that, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So kind of follow up on that. So is that why we have a surplus every year, is because of the paybacks?
I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a surplus. It's some.
Well, carryover.
Carryover, yeah. That's one, that's.
Okay.
That
That's
is
the major reason, yeah.
Because it would seem that, as Councilmember Mann pointed out, one of the things I wrote down is based on the figures that you supplied from 2016 to now, this grant program has not kept up with the increase in costs at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. So I guess to some extent, and one of my questions is, it appears that the amount we receive every year is pretty constant, or has been, around the $200,000 level?
It falls about, I think, 2% annually.
Yeah.
It tends to decline.
Okay, and we don't anticipate any great increases over the next few years or anything like that. Okay, and I guess this may be for later, but I'll ask a question now. It appears that the request is to, of course, increase the loans, 35 to 40, grants from 10 to 15. Wouldn't that, by definition, then mean we have less households that we can help out?
Yeah.
And already we have 30 on the waiting list, and we service maybe 5 to 6 years. That waiting list is a long waiting list. And do they, I guess my question to that is, do these people stay on this, like number 30 in line right now, will they stay on for the next 5 years? Or do we see people just saying, you know what, it's too long, we're going to go different direction maybe?
So they stay on the waiting list, and our consultant will reach out, usually to groups at a time, like maybe 5 or 6 at a time, and then reach out to them, one, to see if they still live in the city, if they're interested in participating.
Okay.
And then start to gather some general information.
So they
but-
try to keep the list up to date,
Yes.
I guess.
And what we find is about half of the people who are on the list don't meet the requirements of the
Oh,
program.
I see.
So if
So
they
you don't
own-
even vet those people until their number comes up, I guess.
That's
correct?
right, yeah. And then, so when we start the fiscal year, we start vetting applicants. We vet more than we think we're actually going to fund, just because we know that some of them,
So realistically,
the
somebody
program.
who's a 10th on the list could actually move up pretty quick.
Yes.
If the people in front of them don't qualify.
yeah, so the 30 number looks scary, but that we may get through those 30 in the first 2 or 3 years.
Oh, okay, yeah, when I saw that, I go, wow, that's quite a wait.
Yeah.
But now that you've explained it, that's good, that makes sense. All right, thank you, I don't know what other questions.
Just a follow-up question to the question that I've been asked. I know the CDBG's funding been reduced slightly over time. So just to help our memory here, how is the amount of CDBG funding determined? Based on what factors? And how can we as a city get more? If it's just hypothetically
That's the
speaking.
$64,000 question, huh?
Exactly.
Adam,
I
you wanna
got
take
it.
that? Okay.
Generally speaking, and Adam and Scott can chime in where I'm missing something. Generally speaking, the census determines where there are low income, the socioeconomics, and where there are low to very low income areas of the city. So the city is divided up, and here's the areas. That is then calculated formulaically into the percentage of funding that the county gets, and then is divided through, because the county is actually, for those who are what we are called a non-entitlement city, meaning that the majority of our city is not in a low to very low income category for many of its residents. There are some parts of LA County where there is economic distress and challenges, so those cities are within what's called an entitlement city. We are not an entitlement city, but we're calculated as part of the whole of the remaining parts of the non-entitlement cities, and then that is apportioned according to the amount of low to very low income families you have. So to answer your question directly, sir, it's formulaic. So in terms of this program, there's not really much more you could either lobby for or go after. And it's a very long established program as well. It's a good question, and I appreciate it. And we would love more money, because there are, even though we are fortunate enough to have not as many families in need, but there are still families in need in this community. And it would be great to be able to fund many more of these programs, but this is how the program has been structured for many decades.
Mr. Cook, it's probably more a question for Greg. Greg, is the city able to contribute money to this program from the general fund?
So you wouldn't contribute to CDBG, but could you add city funds to the separate programs, to the housing rehabilitation program? You could add city funds to that.
So supplement, in other words, what we already are giving through that program. with our own
Right.
funds.
The concern with using city funds would be the potential triggering of certain prevailing wage laws, which, you know, I don't deal with CDBG projects on a daily in and out basis. I know that the projects that Mr. Cook talked about in some of the cities that have more entitlement, they have to follow federal Davis-Bacon law, but I don't believe the handy worker program does. And by contributing city funds, you might trigger that. And so it might actually, if it did trigger prevailing wage law, it could cause the labor costs to rise to the point where you would actually be potentially causing more cost by giving money than you would be easing cost. But it's certainly something that staff and I can look at. Adam, go ahead.
I believe this is not the first time this question has come up.
No.
If I
Adam.
remember,
But we
we've
haven't
asked
done
this
it.
before.
Yeah,
and
Davis-Bacon-
We kind of got the same answer, I believe.
Davis-Bacon doesn't apply to these types of programs. I think it's multiple units. I don't know what the number is when it starts to trigger. Those are
Yeah,
Davis-Bacon.
I know, I can think in the back of my mind that when we've gone over this, that issue has come up. Why can't we give some money to it? And there was
Yeah.
some valid reasons why we should not, or maybe
I don't think
cannot.
we've ever really studied it to the extent where we really, at least I could say I really understood what the valid, I mean, I do from Greg, what Greg was saying, but I don't think we've studied it to the point where we have looked at other considerations or putting some other things. But before I speak, I'm going to ask Ed, or Vince, do you have any other questions, Vincent?
No, I
Ed?
think I'm good.
Okay.
I have one follow-up question. I'm drawing a blank. What was the other program that we were using to do handiwork around for
Was
homes?
the,
Is that, what's that program
Habitat
called?
for
Habitat
Humanity.
for Humanity, that's,
The
is that no
handyman
longer
program.
around, or?
Brush with Kindness program?
Yes.
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we
It's
do that
still around.
still?
It's still around, but we don't participate with them. I think I don't remember if we use general funds for that program. I know we had explored using community development block grant funds on that, but there's a lot of complications with that from what I remember.
I'm
I
just
think-
thinking maybe that's another way, like you mentioned, if we, rather than put money in from our general fund, maybe teaming up with these associations again to get that back. Because I remember when we first did it, it was some pretty good success stories from that partnership.
I think it was 6 or 7 homes at the time. I remember because I worked on bringing that project to the city. And I remember, Scott, that one of the reasons we didn't continue with it, there was a change, can't think of her name, it was with an S. Sonia, I believe, might have been the woman who was represented the San Gabriel Valley. But there was, at the time that we did it, you didn't have to sign any, what's it called when you put like a lien on the house or a lien on the property? And then something changed in their legal department that said, well, they have to stay in the house for a certain amount of time. And I think maybe you know a little bit more. Do you recall?
No, this predates my time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something transpired. And I think at the time we just thought, well, it seemed a little bit more complicated than we contributed monies, but we can definitely look at the Habitat for Humanity. They're going strong, and they have quite a few different programs that I see just on Facebook because they're a part of my Facebook feed. But I have a question because I do have a concern regarding not the increase in the smaller amounts of money, but if we could go back to that slide, Adam, where we had the allocations. So, refresh my memory, Scott, when someone applies, do they apply for a specific one, not this one, the one with how much we spent, I'm sorry, for roofs, kitchens?
No.
Do they just apply for one item?
They give us a list of ideas of things that they would like to do, and then we have to kind of go through it because there's only certain things that federal funds can support.
So this
So
list?
we go through it with them and we say, well, this is something we could cover, this is something we shouldn't. And then if there's some issues that are urgently need to be taken care of, we can tell them, no, you have to, for instance, you have to fix the electrical component of the house first.
Okay.
So
So
we
is,
walk them through that set of priorities.
can someone say, get more than $35,000?
Only if through the process, we discover that there's something of an emergency nature that needs to be repaired.
Okay.
But that you can get both a grant and a loan. The same
From the
individual
same
can get a
program.
grant and a loan from the program, yes. So they could get the $10,000 grant, and then they could also get a loan that they have to repay.
Okay.
And then we've had a few instances where someone, as they were doing work, we find out that there's a big issue, and then we have to give them a little bit more to get that wrapped up.
And so the loan comes out of this pot?
Yes.
Okay, this is just, I'm thinking out loud here. When you have a $35,000 remodel kitchen, that's a heck of a lot of money for a kitchen. If you are upgrading, say they own the house, they have to own the house, right? If someone owns the house and they're gonna have a kitchen remodel, and it's $35,000. I mean, that's the biggest chunk of money that we expend here. Is there any way that we can secure contractors or something that meet the requirements who don't charge $35,000 to do a kitchen? Because I don't know how many people who aren't even low income have the money these days to spend $35,000 on a kitchen unless you are very high income. I mean, it's probably more than that, 75,000 say. But it seems like $35,000 to remodel a kitchen. I mean, say you get all new appliances, right? You have the kitchen there, so basically you're gutting the kitchen. I mean, I didn't spend nearly that much on doing my kitchen maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But I didn't ask for, appliances were important, but I mean, I just think that if you only can service 6 families, 6 or 7, and we're spending so much money on a kitchen, I mean, why wouldn't you want to spend the $35,000 if you can get that loan at a low rate and it's available? I mean, it seems like it's a way to say, okay, well, get me those higher end cabinets, and I want granite, not Corian.
Yeah. I think Adam can kind of speak to what the program funds and why we fund remodeling kitchens and bathrooms. It's not something just to make it look prettier.
Right.
But
I get the bathroom.
Before Adam gets to that, I just wanted to note that when these projects go out, they go out to bid first. And so we go out and do have additional contractors come out and give us bids to make sure that we're getting the lowest and the best bang for the buck. But maybe Adam can tell us a little bit more about that part of the program.
So Adam, I get bathrooms, that's a safety issue, but you get a nice stove and a fridge and, microwave and all that, you're pretty much set to go and have cabinets installed. And I mean, to make a kitchen, maybe it's just me, I just think that that's a heck of a lot of money to devote for kitchens when you're so limited in funding.
Yeah, so this figures might be a little misleading. I think this may be like a complete kitchen remodel where they're gutting everything and redoing everything new. For our program, I think we typically see if someone's redoing the cabinets, the countertop, like it can't be a luxury upgrade if whatever material kind of has to be comparable. It can't be like you're saying, like granite countertop, like something that's the cost is going to significantly increase. It would be kind of comparable to what they had previously. So it's not, this figure may be a little bit higher than what the program actually typically sees when they're redoing the kitchen.
So are the kitchen remodels to bring it up to a safety code or standard? What is the goal of a kitchen remodel?
Well, typically, I know like the lights, they need to be LED lights and hardwired. Like those are some of the, you might have the old, I don't know the terminology for it, where you have the kind of office lights with the big tubes, like in older kitchens, I think have that, well, depending on what year the house is, but there might be upgrades to that, or maybe a faucet's like leaking or something like that. So they need to redo the countertop and then a new faucet, so.
Or putting in a new electrical for the ground fault interrupter
Okay.
that was
So
not
there
installed
are
originally. things
safety
like that.
concerns for that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just wondering, because I know, like Tom said, we've talked about how we can help more families. And I know specifically just in the city of Alhambra, where they have a program for the seniors who really need it because they're on fixed incomes. And they upgrade, most of the time, it's their bathrooms for safety by putting safety bars and whatever, those type of things. And maybe if they needed some upgrades in appliances, short wires, or like you said, the lighting. But I just think it's time for us to help more people. And so if we could look, Brian, at.
Sure. We could,
some
we'll
things.
take a look and we will bring something back to the council, and to let you know what, issues or, the parameters of which, a city-funded effort of a similar type would mean programmatically.
Okay. And then one last thing about the kitchen. So do the 6 people that have used the funding and the loan, are most of them at that $35,000? Or do they come in significantly lower or that's the amount that's?
They usually do the maximum amount, but sometimes people don't want loans for whatever reason. Like, we don't require monthly payments. It's a deferred loan, so
Right.
whenever they sell the house, then that's when it's paid back to the city. But
So in the last year, did the 6 people that we did a loan or what have you, were there varying amounts or were they all at the max of 35,000?
they're varying amounts.
Varying
But
amounts, starting from about what amount? The 10?
some people only do
The
the
grant.
grant and then, but most of the people do the loan and grant together.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, it seems. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. I am going to open up public comment. Anyone? Jerry?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have a couple questions. What is the criteria, if any, between the loan and the grant? How is it determined? And I guess I have several other questions, well, a couple, just one maybe. But is there an amount accrued that is like accounts payable, loans outstanding? Do you have that amount that is due the city?
Scott? Or Adam?
We do have a running balance that's required from our auditors. If I had to guess, it's slightly over $1 million. I know it's $1 million, but I don't know the exact figure. To qualify for the program, it depends on how many people are in the household, and it's based on gross income. So if you have Social Security, a pension, anything you're reporting for taxes, that's all counted towards calculating the total household income.
The general idea, again, is that loans go out, loans get repaid over time, and that's where our unallocated amount of funding is coming from, so that it revolves back, it gets paid back, revolves back into the community.
Are those zero interest loans?
About 7 years ago or so, you went to 0% interest loans, because it was at a time when interest rates were extremely low and we weren't getting the level of participation that was as robust as we wanted it to be. So we went to zero, and and especially now, considering where interest rates are, that's why robust response to the program.
Since I'm on the Committee on Aging Committee, and we're having a meeting this month, I'm just wondering if a senior citizen comes and says, I'm 81 years old now, and I'm having trouble getting in my house. I need handrails on the outside. I need grab bars in the bathroom, that type of thing. Are they eligible? And would they be moved to the front for safety purposes?
Our program is on a first-come, first-served basis, so someone would submit their name and we put them on the waiting list.
So deference is not given to seniors then?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, maybe we can look at all that, Brian. Okay. All right, anyone else? I'm going to close public comment. Any final questions from council members?
Do we ever get any Sure we do, but what is the default on these loans? Do we see a lot of default on paybacks, or?
Generally speaking, no, because of how the repayments are made to, and also to a title transfer. Also to, we get the full amount of the loan back, so.
So
and
no one has ever defaulted on one of these loans?
there
I find
could have
that
been in the past,
hard to
but,
believe.
but not in the last 10 years.
So how do we accrue $1 million in money, though?
That is, well, if you think about $200,000 out every single year over a 5-year period, that's
Okay.
because that payback is, so you're, over the last 10 years, the city has expensed through the program a little over $2 million.
So maybe the follow-up question would be, what are the payback terms on these loans? Is it is it a certain period of time? Is it a certain amount of money? How do we determine how and when they pay these loans back?
So the loans are only required to be paid back when the property sells.
Oh, okay, so
And-
it's not even, there is no payment schedule.
That's
No.
correct.
So if the house doesn't sell for 30 years, we don't see any money for 30 years.
That's correct. I would
Okay.
say probably 90% of our applicants are seniors.
Okay,
We do not allow them, I think, on reverse mortgages. So generally, the value of the property increases. Most of our people already have a good deal amount of equity in the property.
okay, and so then, of course, when the loan is in it's like a balloon payment, and the entire amount's paid off at that time.
Yes,
But not until then.
that's correct.
Except there's no interest, right?
Yeah,
Right, no
interest.
accrued interest, so it's a,
Heck of a deal.
Yeah,
it is a good deal.
It's a really good deal.
Well, it's a good deal, but it's limited as to how much you can get, obviously. And we aren't making $100,000 loans to these people. so.
That's correct.
And part of the reason we are, because we are looking to assist those who are either aging in place or others who are on fixed income to have the essential aspects of a home intact. Things like a roof, windows, those kind of things.
I just wish there was a way we could cut down on this waiting list. That's like, to Jerry's point, you have somebody who really needs it for whatever, for let's say safety reasons or whatever, and they're number 30 on the list. That's not a lot of hope there. A lot of things can happen between now and then. Maybe there's some we can look at.
We'll come back,
How
we'll
we
come
can
back,
do-
we'll come back to the council with comprehensive review.
And can we add those types of things to this program? Or are we bound by state or federal law? Like, for example, could we allow for, quote, emergency services to jump to the front of the line or something like that? If we were to think it would be worthy. Is that possible through this program?
It is up to the city or city council how we run the program. I know some cities do a lottery system, so maybe if you're on the waiting list and you don't get selected, then the next year you may get more points to being eligible.
Well, I, for one, I don't know what other council members do, but I think it's worth looking into as far as addressing some of these concerns that have been raised tonight regarding the priority, qualifications, the waiting period, things like that, that maybe how we could improve that in some way.
And I'm wondering if, many houses have more than one bathroom. Is this can they only do one bathroom?
Not necessarily. They sit with our team and our consultant and go through and see what they really need to prioritize in the home and what is of the most pressing needs.
Yeah, because if you have one subpar bathroom, you probably have the second one's not so great either. I don't know. But I mean, I'm wondering because you only have one kitchen. Maybe it's because I don't like to cook, right? I don't know what
You get
this
something
is.
about kitchens.
I
don't you?
know, I have something about kitchens. But maybe if you have two bathrooms, maybe give some of that extra 5,000 from the kitchen to the bathroom remodels. I love a nice bathroom.
It's a collaborative effort between us, making sure we're meeting all of HUD's guidelines in terms of the program, working with the participant as well, too. So
Okay, so we'll just,
We can work
we'll
on
we'll
you're
co- we'll
gonna
come
look
back
at
with
it.
you.
You're
Yes,
gonna
ma'am.
come back. Yeah.
Good.
maybe we could figure something out.
You guys are pretty smart. You can come
Yeah,
up with
I
things.
know. This is like more,
Vince
yeah,
got some. Vince has got some.
more opinion than it is policy.
Well, I think it's, Mayor, if I may, I think it's a good time that we revisit all the CDBG funding and how we allocate, what kind of program we serve, because we have had this program for many, many years, and some of the details we have forgotten,
Yeah.
for example. But sounds to me like the mayor mentioned, and there seems to be a desire on the city council to help more people, given the limited funds. So perhaps, well, these people would be required to take out building permits because construction work, right, and inspection. And perhaps maybe the city attorney can look into if we waive those, I mean, talking about the mayor trying to help. If we waive those fees, it's not, would that be considered city funds? And would that exempt them from some prevailing wage? If the city wanted to help?
Yeah,
say.
we can look in terms of single-family residences. In general, though, yes, waiver of otherwise required fees is considered contribution of public funds to the project, which
Okay. So
is
that's
a difficult one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the second thing is that perhaps, I mean, I too would like to have more people being helped. But 6 people seems like a lot. I mean, it's a very few. It seems like if you won that, it's almost like winning the lotto, and all of a sudden you got $35,000. But I do agree, the question that Jerry brought up, I mean, if there are some really genuine safety needs, would it be possible to create, maybe for a city manager to bring back next time, maybe create a certain category just for safety, and maybe have a small amounts?
Sure, we can look
there's
into
a
that, sir.
Separate list for that. Separate
Absolutely.
Waiting list for that,
Yeah, because some of those things that were talked about, I
Right.
can't imagine would be that expensive.
like grab
Easy
bars, and
fixes,
stuff, right?
You
Yeah.
know, bars. And
A
that's why-
ramp.
That's why I recall
Yeah.
the Habitat for Humanity, a lot of those projects had to do with, making the entrances safer and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that were
a
putting
little
in
small
ramps,
ramp
things
to
like
get up
that,
there, yeah.
which were at that time fairly affordable. Of course, as we know, costs have gone up ridiculously over the last couple, 3 years. And that's, the problem is, as we we've already seen by the graphs, that, you know, the costs have far exceeded the rate of the monies that are available. And now we're stuck holding the bag, so to speak. So, okay, yeah, I think we need to take a look at these things.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Can I have a
Okay.
motion? We close public comment.
Okay. I would offer a motion that you authorize the city manager, let's see. Authorize the city manager to amend the CDBG funded program allocations up to 50% of the approved allocation as necessary throughout the fiscal year. Authorize the city manager to amend the home improvement program guidelines to increase the loan amount from 35 to 40 and the grant amount from 10 to 15. And that we adopt resolution 26-5853 establishing the CDBG funded programs and allocations below for fiscal year 26-27 per attachment A. Do I need to put the amounts in there, Greg, or just referring to that? Attachment A is okay?
No, it's fine, attachment
Okay.
is fine.
That's it?
Second?
Okay, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Chen?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. All right, Adam. Thank you. Scott? We move to item B, continuation of public hearing for ordinance number 25-1086 to a date uncertain. Brian?
Mayor Sternquist, the council needs to take no action, so there's no public hearing being opened or anything like that. We are just moving this item to a date uncertain.
Okay. All right. We move to item 9, unfinished business, none. New business, adoption of resolution 26-5855, establishing priorities for revenue generated by Measure TC on the March 3rd, 2026 ballot. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist, and a member of the council. Just let me go, if I may, go over briefly just kind of how we've gotten to this place. In late 2024, the city council authorized staff to work with Probolsky Research to do some polling and conduct some community outreach and education regarding efforts to establish community priorities, but have the community understand some of the needs, infrastructure needs in the community. The polling that came out that we did in February of 2025 showed support for a 0.75% local sales tax. And the expression from the voters at that time were street maintenance, repaving the streets is one of the top priorities, public safety, emergency management, emergency preparedness, and our parks. The council then elected, after several months of community outreach, to place on the ballot for on November 18th, to place on the ballot for the March 3rd, 2026 municipal election coming up. That transaction and use tax, otherwise known as sales tax, known as Measure TC. With that, the council can decide to express in the form of this resolution some of the priorities that we heard from the community in the polling, which include what's noted in the resolution. What's noted in the resolution is just that the council affirming that the rehabilitation and maintenance of residential streets and roads, public safety services, parks and recreational services and program are amongst the key priorities that will be funding Measure TC.
Okay. Do we have any questions from council?
I do have one, Mayor. So, Mr. Cook, the fact that we adopted a resolution, it doesn't necessarily obligate the city how to spend that sales tax, right? So, assuming for a minute that the sales tax measure got passed or the Measure TC got passed, what would the logical next step for the city do is actually come out with a program and approve it? And how do we address, in addition to just the resolution, the use of these funds?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Yu. One of the things I'll be bringing forward soon is we are just about to have an updated pavement management plan that will have a kind of an evaluation of where we are today and where currently our unfunded needs are. So that will be one of the primary plans that will come forward to you to start to show you what those issues are. And more importantly, where that funding gap lies and how you can prioritize those for residential streets in particular, but also for the arterial streets because it's citywide. The other document that will be coming forward to you with as well is the remaining parks facility programming and everything else that from a capital improvement standpoint is either planned or as a part of to bring those. But the first document that we're going to be bringing forward to you will be the pavement management plan. And so you will have that. We're required to do that every so often per the state of California, but it is kind of our guiding document to help us plan ahead and more importantly, know what those funding gaps are. We already know there's a funding gap with our residential street repavement program. That is very evident. And even though we've done a lot of pavement in the last few years, we are running out of that money to do that with both the remaining streets that we need to do, but more importantly, a long-term maintenance program. So that'll be the first document that comes your way, Councilmember Yu.
Vincent, I also asked Brian to look for a date when we can go over our strategic plan. It's been many years. And I think that this will obviously be one of our top priorities. So Brian, you're working on a date?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, with all due respect, I'm not sure I heard an answer to council members' Yu's question. And that is, what we're doing tonight, does that in any way bind us or put in stone what we're actually going to be using the monies for?
Let me help with that. Legally speaking, what's on the ballot is a general tax measure, which means that you cannot bind or put in stone for the very long term what the money will be used for. What you can do on a general tax measure is state that you've heard the community and that your intent is to follow sort of the community's desires. But a general tax necessarily, the money can be used for any governmental purpose And so if at some point in the future, the public opinion changed as to what was important, you as a council or 5 other human beings at some point in the future felt that other priorities needed to come first, the money can be shifted. If it were to be kept for a very limited amount of things, it would be called a special tax, and the procedures for adoption are very different, and they don't give that leeway at a point in the future. So no, you are not committing forever and ever to these priorities, but what you are saying is that the 5 of you as a council have heard the public and are putting these priorities in place.
So I guess my follow-up question would be, so all we're really doing is we're kind of expressing our priorities based on what we've heard from the public, okay, which is okay. And I guess at the end of the day, this passes, and let's say we decide, we weren't really committed to that. Let's use the money for something else entirely. That wouldn't look too good for us, and I suppose the public would then say, wait a minute, you said you were gonna use it for this reason, now you're completely, you're using it to put in a casino or something, which I don't know if that's legal anyway, but I guess the check and balance would be, I guess, the public, I guess. I mean, we're saying, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and at some point, somebody's gonna say, come up in the meeting and perhaps say, hey, what about what you guys said that day on January 10th, 20th, whatever happened to that? Right, I mean.
So you have a budget process that could go through that. You'll see this actually as a separate line item, as a revenue source in the budget as well, so we can start to track that individually, and that is the council's prerogative to look at that while not in a special tax manner, but in a manner that looks at it as a different category of funding of how, in this case, your priorities of funding, be it streets and parks and public safety. You can do that as well. And then also too, the audit committee can direct the auditor to separately track that as well. So that it can be, we can show essentially, for lack of a better term, kind of like a dashboard of here's where your measured TC dollars went. Here's the projects it went to, here's the programs it's gone to.
I guess what I'm hearing is we still have the ability, if things change, none of us can predict the future. 2-3 years from now, what I'm hearing Greg say is that maybe the things have changed to the point where it's better to use the money for this rather than what we were going to do before. And that's based on what we believe the community wants and needs. We still have that discretion to do that. At the same time, we also are holding ourselves accountable, and the public's going to hold us accountable for what we're doing tonight to say that, okay, you guys, we're not saying this is what we're going to use the money, but we're prioritizing certain things based on what we've heard from the community, I guess, in order to put this on the ballot to begin with.
Right, and I
Okay,
think, Tom, also that if we obviously don't have the money to do and keep the streets in good repair, that if the streets were not being taken care of, they'd be knocking down the doors as they continue to deteriorate. So the streets are gonna hold us all accountable too.
And I guess at the end of the day, that's why we have elections, so.
Well,
If we don't do what we say we were gonna do, then somebody's gonna come along and call us on that and say, okay.
well, but I do think that the resolution that we passed tonight would be something that really signifies what this council believes, and somebody can always point to, hey, you guys passed it that night, and you guys are not doing it, I'm gonna hold you responsible for not doing what you promised.
No, I agree.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Or resolved, if not a promise, at least a resolve to do, yeah.
Anyone else? Open public comment? Jerry?
Busy tonight, Jerry. Good thing you came.
Good evening again, Jerry Jambazian. I guess sitting in the audience and listening to what's taking place tonight in the last 15 minutes, I guess I wish that everybody in the city would hear this. In other words, I appreciate the fact that City Manager Brian Cook is going to bring you back reports on pavement management and that type of thing, but the average person isn't seeing that. So you took the results from 2024, which was 2 years ago, of the citizens of what they wanted. But what are you going to do between now and March the 6th to sell this? And I hate to put it in those terms, but it's important. And our people need to know what's going to be happening and why I should be voting for this increase. And it seems like unless something's going to be done, nothing is being done to promote it, and hate to use the word sell, but that's what it comes down to. So I'm wondering, are there plans to promote this and make it a community meeting, a televised type of thing, or whatever? So thank you.
Jerry, Brian had numerous community meetings, right, Brian, at the schools and,
Prior to it being placed on the ballot.
yes, prior to being placed on the ballot. So I guess you're saying now that it will be on the ballot, that there should be more? Or asking what more are we going to do?
I'm confused. Are these going to take place, or they already have?
Brian's did take place.
They did take place?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know about them.
But I also think that there are also legal requirements to how we, maybe the city manager or city attorney can address that. There's certain things we can or cannot do
Thank you,
from
Mayor.
your point- from this
Councilmember, I'll
point
turn it
on.
over to my colleague on that one.
Sure, yeah. Once a measure has been put on the ballot, California law prohibits public funds, which would include public time, from being spent advocating one way or the other. A city or a county or a special district has the ability to put out factual statements stating what money would be used for, what needs are there, but you can't advocate. Most public agencies will put something on the ballot and then let a committee or a involved group of residents, potentially including elected officials, advocate out in the public sphere, but the governmental apparatus can't be used to advocate. And in light of that, most public agencies really try to, once something has been put on the ballot, try to stay out of the communication at all so that what they say doesn't get interpreted as advocacy and lead to conflict or challenge. So there probably will not be much from the city at this point, although you'll certainly hear from individuals.
Can I just ask one more question then? If the city is giving the Chamber of Commerce over $5,000 a month, could they advocate for this, or would there be a conflict of interest there?
I don't want to get into too much detail, but there are, within the contract with the Chamber of Commerce, there is parameters in which the conduct of the chamber is expected, and also to meeting all state laws as well, so that they fall within those guidelines. So
Does that mean yes?
It actually would tend to mean the opposite.
Okay.
That city money received by the chamber would have to be able to be shown to be used for things unrelated or unrelated to an item like this. And again, without going too far down the road, the chamber's contract includes some very specific other provisions about what city funds cannot be used for in light of some of the chamber activities, because we want to be able to keep supporting the chamber without crossing that line. So while they could advocate, and it wouldn't be a surprise if they did, they would have to be cautious with their funds and in their reporting back to the city.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? I'm going to close public comment. Any final questions or comments by council members? Nope.
Actually, Mayor, I'll just say one quick thing. I just want to concur with what was previously mentioned, because I guess in short, I see the resolution as an affirmation of all the work that was done leading up to this being, like this kind of affirms the reason why this is even on the ballot, right? Because otherwise people could say, well, did you guys just out of the blue, out of thin air, decide to put a tax measure on there? It's like, well, no, there was a certain amount of homework and data gathering that led us to this logical conclusion. So there's a basis for that. And I do appreciate our city manager talking about the follow-up and follow-through. And I agree, we have many mechanisms in place. So I know you brought up the strategic plan, there's the pavement management plan, and then, of course, the budget ultimately, I think, is going to be the document that reflects how we're truly going to be committing the city's money, just like everything else that we are obligated to safeguard. So I think this is a good thing. We have a track record of a council of holding ourselves accountable and being as transparent as possible with what we're trying to do. And I think this is very much in line with that.
Okay.
Well, allow me, Madam Mayor, just to restate the obvious, right? I mean, this not only affirms, but this is actually telling the public, we have resolved as a body, this is how we intend to use those funds if the measure passes. So we're holding ourselves responsible, and folks can criticize us if we didn't follow through in the future on the expenditure of these funds. So this is out there, not only affirming, is also holding ourselves responsible how those funds would be used.
And I think it's important to note that there was no argument
Right.
from anyone in the community against the ballot measure. So I think that in itself affirms that what we're doing is good for the community.
But to state the obvious again, it's really a resolution by the five of us.
Yes.
If in 2 months there are 2 new members, they're not bound by this resolution in any way, shape, or form. Correct? I mean.
Well, I think it's similar to like our protocols, right? That we.
Well, no, because the protocols are, they bind you, I mean, they're just a certain expected level of
I don't know, I think
things,
they're
but-
similar.
But, I don't know, I'm in favor of the resolution, but I don't really, all it really does is really state the obvious, and that is we've already, gotten to this point, is we've all agreed that this is
I
the
think
way
it's
to go.
just
but
another step of affirmation.
I suppose, and again, I'm not against it, I'm all for it, but, again, it has it doesn't bind anybody. If there's 2 new council members in 2 months and they decide, I don't agree with these priorities, they have every right to do so. So,
But they wouldn't be a majority.
well, just
Be
takes one
2.
more.
All right, anyone else? Okay, so we are moving on to item 11.
We
still need a vote
put
to
a
approve
vote,
it.
Yeah,
Hey,
so,
Madam Mayor, if I could
Yes,
move
please.
to make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-5855, attachment A, outlining the city council's intended priorities for revenue generated by the proposed transaction and use tax measure TC to be considered by voters on March 3rd, 2026.
Okay, we have a roll call, please?
We need a second. Oh,
Oh,
second.
Yeah.
Councilmember Chavez,
yes.
Councilmember Chen,
Yes.
Councilmember Yu,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man,
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist.
Yes. Okay, update from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist. Just one quick thing. The latest issue of Connect is out. It's titled Urban Renaissance. Highlights some of the projects that we've done and the council's authorized over the last couple of years coming to fruition, and some of our exciting events that are coming up, including a Lunar New Year celebration on February 7th, and some of the fun programs that we have for our seniors and for our youth. So it should be in everybody's mailbox. If it's not in their mailbox now, it will be in their mailbox soon.
And
State of the city? Yes, State of the City will be on February 24th at 6:15. 6:30 will be the start time at the Women's Club. Mayor Sternquist will be providing our annual State of the City for 2026.
you want to tell them the title?
You tell them.
The title is The Stage is Set. So
What does that mean?
The stage
you
is
have
set.
to come and see it. But anyway, I'm so looking forward to giving that because we've done, the staff and we've all done such great work. So
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist.
thank you. Okay. Update from our city attorney, Greg.
Thank you. Very briefly, so we looked into the e-bike law changes for 2026, and actually, it was interesting. They came out with a lot of fanfare, but for local jurisdictions, I guess the best way to put it is they changed the regulation of the machines themselves, which has more to do with your public safety, with the sheriffs, rather than changing or allowing local jurisdictions to change the regulation of behavior, which is what we hope for. We hope that, perhaps a local jurisdiction could say that in order to ride a certain class of e-bike, you had to be a certain age or be outfitted in a certain way, and the laws don't say that. They focus on two things mainly. One is actually kind of interesting considering their e-bike laws, or have been called that, and that is regulation of vehicles that don't meet the definition of e-bikes. So an e-bike by definition is pedaled, and what these are essentially mopeds, for lack of a better word, that look like e-bikes, go much faster than e-bikes actually go, and those are now subject to totally different regulations. The second interesting part is that San Diego County was having such a tough time with e-bikes themselves that there was special legislation for cities in that county to allow local jurisdictions to further regulate behavior of e-bikes. Again, youths below a certain age using them, impoundment of bikes if the rider's not wearing a helmet, things along that line, because you were seeing, especially in the beach communities, just an overwhelming number of e-bikes and some pretty bad behavior on the roads.
So does that mean the counties have a right to regulate?
It means that there's special legislation that lets the cities or the county in the unincorporated areas of San Diego County.
No, but so can LA County do the same thing?
They would have to get legislation from the state legislature.
So the state legislature carved out an exception for the county of San Diego?
Correct.
And not the rest of the state?
Correct.
Well, that's pretty
They
genius.
do it all the time. They started, years ago, they started a design build public contracting program, and they listed certain cities. The city of Elk Grove in Sacramento County was one of them. So they do it all the time. They tend to call them test programs, but really it's special legislation. So because of that, we know that we still have very limited rights to regulate, and we'll keep regulating as best we can, and then rely on public safety to take care of the bad actors. So
Do we want that, Greg, here?
want to
Similar to what San Diego County?
I would defer to the city manager to tell me how much of a problem e-bikes are in the city of Temple City.
Depends on who you ask.
We get complaints, there's no doubt. It'll be interesting to see, and we'll take a look at what the San Diego, what it truly allows the agencies to impose, and what it allows them to enforce. So we'll take a look at what they have to say, and then we can report back to you and say, hey, this makes sense. Maybe we should be advocating to our state senator and assembly member that this is something that should be expanded, either statewide or add LA County to the
Well, it
mix.
sounds like all we can do is, nothing we can do, because we're not in that that special legislation that was passed, all we can do is identify maybe potential issues here and then advocate or get our state representatives to come on board with us, I guess.
Yes.
2 days ago, there was a child, he looked like he was in junior high, crossing Garibaldi onto, from Garibaldi, from, which way is that? West coming east on Garibaldi, on an e-bike with a kid on his shoulders behind him. I just don't get it, you know? And I stopped my car and said, that's, just pulled over and said, you know, that's really unsafe. They just looked at me like, you know, you're out to lunch, you're an old person, who cares what you say? But they had to be in junior high school. They weren't even high school students. But just on his back holding, you know, it was just an accident waiting to happen.
I saw a weird thing, I can't remember what freeway it was on, but there were about 8 juveniles on, not e-bikes, but mini bikes. Remember what mini bikes are?
Yes.
On the freeway, like a pack of them. I'm looking like, whoa, where'd that come from? But, I don't know, where's the CHP when you need one?
Right.
All right.
Okay. Let's see.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Greg. Council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Do we have any updates?
I would like to report on the school district school district city standing committee meeting. Mayor Pro Tem Mann and I met with our staff and staff in the school district on January 15th. First item of business was e-bikes. Surprise, but Jose Amaya, our public safety supervisor, gave kind of a similar type update on the new laws and what was going to, and actually, Mayor Pro Tem Mann can follow up on this too, but I think his conclusion was it really didn't change too much as far as what we can do. As Greg mentioned, all they did was change the type of bikes. For example, they have to have a red light on the back of the bike now, and no other modifications can be made to the bikes, and, you know, but nothing having to do with the safety value of these things or safety regulations. So, I mean, I think it's just another example of the state kind of missing the ball, and maybe there's just not enough voice out there right now to do that. But I think at some point, like most of these things, it's going to come to a head, because I think we all agree that we're seeing more and more e-bikes on the road. And of course, it's a subject that's close to the school district, because a lot of their students, not a lot, but more and more students are starting to ride those things. However, we have done some work in the area of so-called bike rack checks, that they've been performing those at Oak and at the high school to determine if there are any bikes that have been changed or if there's a problem. And I think they have confiscated a couple of those bikes and informed the parents they have to come and pick them up. The kids couldn't go home on them. So there are things there that they're doing, and, you know, but I think there's still a little more work to do, and some of it's out of our hands, some of it isn't. But we'll continue to follow that and work with the school districts on that as well. As always, we also discuss traffic issues primarily around Longden Elementary. There's still some ongoing issues there, but there's also some ongoing plans to improve that. And so we're going to keep that on the agendas moving forward to make sure that the city and the school district both work together to try to alleviate those issues that are still of concern. Along those same lines, Temple City Unified formed as the Safe Route to Schools, the traffic concerns things, that there was good news. They are getting better. They believe the parents are following the rules a little bit better, but, you know, maybe not as much as we'd all like to do, but getting there. One of the things that was brought to my attention prior to the meeting, and we discussed it briefly at the meeting, was the fact that Oak Avenue School, and it was brought to my attention by Councilmember Chen, that Oak Avenue School recently received a national award called the National School to Watch.
Oh, nice.
Which is a very, I guess, pretty prestigious award. And So we discussed at the meeting perhaps bringing those who are responsible for that award, the staff and principal, to a future council meeting and recognizing their achievements. I want to thank Councilmember Chen for bringing that to our attention. And I think, Brian, if you were going to work with them, I think, or to bring them in probably
Before
maybe,
council.
maybe next council or next meeting after that. It's a big deal, and we certainly will want to recognize them. And because I think we've all recognized and stated various times how important the school districts are to the city. And one of the reasons why people want to live in Temple City is because of the school district. And so to recognize, I think, it'd be a nice thing to do. So we're going to do that. We had scheduled our next meeting for April 30th. So again, if anybody has any items of discussion or any things they would like Mayor Pro Tem Mann and I to discuss, please let us know, and we'll get that on the agenda as well. And Mayor Pro Tem Mann, if you have anything you want to add, feel free.
I think you covered it pretty well. One question I did have for Brian was, we had discussed that a joint meeting with the full bodies together, is that still going to happen?
We tentatively have it scheduled for March 5th.
March
Oh, we
5th?
do?
Okay.
Wait, March 5th? Okay.
Soon after the
That's a
election.
Thursday.
2 days after.
That's a Thursday. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Okay, so that date is still,
That state is still there.
okay.
So we'll
That's not on our calendar, though. I don't believe it is.
we'll double check,
I
but
don't
that was
remember-
the tentative
I
date
don't
we had.
remember getting that on our calendar. Let's see.
We'll work with everybody's schedules one more time and double check to make sure that date works for everybody.
You said March, what now? 6th?
Fifth.
Oh, 5th. No, it's not, we didn't get anything on that yet. Any save the date or anything, so may want to have Liz do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, I'll just say one last thing, which I think most of us would agree. I think the standing committee has been very beneficial and constructive, because I think just keeping that dialogue going with the school district is really important. And that's what we keep striving for, is kind of improving, not just the communication, but, you know, if they have certain issues that we can help them more quickly than if things just kind of like took their natural course, then that's what we're here for, right? So, so I do appreciate our staff, both on the public safety side, the park side, as well as, you know, Trans Tech and our city engineers for really, you know, working so well together to try to address a lot of the concerns and issues that our district partners bring forth, and we appreciate them, you know, partnering with us on so many things.
And just as a quick follow-up, this, before your time, of course, when Vince and I were first elected, there was, I wouldn't say, what's the best word to say, a certain amount of animosity or hostility, that's a good word, between the school district and the city, believe it or not. Jerry, you probably remember those days. And I'm proud to say that as a council, we've come a long ways, and so is the school district, and it's a true partnership. And I think, as Mayor Pro Tem Mann mentioned, these standing committee meetings further that goal. And I'm a firm believer, and I'm glad we do have that full meeting together, because I think it's also beneficial. We didn't used to always do that either. We would maybe do it every couple of years or something like that. But I think having one of those meetings every year is a good idea as well.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, I think, since we had the last one, but I think having them at least once a year is a good idea.
You know, I'd like to see if you could put it on the agenda either in March or the next time is, I still would, and I've been talking to Brian this for a very long time, I think that we need to look at some coordination of services should we have a disaster in the city, where our school district is in communication with the city, or how are we going to coordinate together if we need to use, say, a field or something. So I think it's just something that we should be looking at, and I think it's important for them to, you know, have that conversation with us, especially emergencies. I mean, look at the Eaton fire. The kids were out of school. They're they needed to have places to go. Well, if we have something available, whether it's at the park or rooms available, I just think we should have something in place, a plan. And I've asked Brian, you're still working on this, I know, but it's been a very long time. If we can get an emergency plan update for council members, especially for Ed, who's new. I think it's just something that we haven't had for some time, and we should.
We'll put that on the next agenda to discuss
Okay.
moving forward on that partnership plan is in the event of an emergency.
Yes.
And then, but you're also talking about our own, just to
Part
bring
of
us
it.
up to
Right.
date on what
I mean, I
our
think
plan is.
they're kind of intertwined. We should know what we're gonna
Right.
do,
But
should.
it also makes sense because we have two council members who have children in our schools.
Right.
So
Right.
that would be a good link, I guess, as far as what we can or cannot do as well, so.
And that's to that extent, Mayor, I think it would behoove of us to, in that scope, also have a discussion with El Monte Unified, since they have
That's true.
an actual facility within the city limits. So I think it's a good idea. It's just, I think the scope, we might need to consider the fact that there's more than just the Temple City Unified
Sure.
within the city limits. So
Obviously, by-
Clemenson being the obvious one.
Okay. And then Greg, I don't think we need item H anymore, correct?
I don't think you do anymore.
So
you
can we just dissolve that? Okay. Any other updates? Nope. So let's move on to item 15, additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Anyone?
I would just like to say, just again, a big thank you to Cub Scout Pack 169.
They're so cute.
They were out here in force. Little background on that, a couple of weeks ago, Councilmember Chen called me and said, "Hey, Tom, what are you doing tonight?" I said, "Nothing. You want to come and talk to Cub Scout Cub Scout Pack 169 tonight at Emperor and talk about local government?"
I am offended. Yeah, you are now on the big SH list.
Well, I have a kind of a connection with Clifford, who is a part of the Cub Scouts group too, but it was fun. So I went and spoke with them and had a good time and had a lot of good questions and it was fun and they expressed an interest on coming and doing the flag salute and so that was pretty cool and they came tonight and they were excited about it and so yeah, good group of kids and you know, a lot of us here have attended the Eagle Scout ceremonies and things like that, and this is where they start. And it's kind of neat because we don't get a chance too much to spend with the Cub Scouts, but because usually we see the older kids and young men and women, but it was a good group of parents as well. So it was good to see them come out. And that's about it. I think it's been a little quiet beginning of the year, but we have a busy schedule coming up, that's for sure. In February, a lot of events coming up, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. All right. So I'd like to, are we on 16 now? Adjournment, yes?
No, 15.
15. Okay. Additional public comments. Jerry said no. So that's why I
Jerry
moved
said no
on.
already?
Yeah, he did.
Come on, Jerry.
I'd like to close the meeting in memory of former council member and Mayor Mary Lou Swain. So with that, we are adjourned.